try and make 2 mallets, one for myself and my friend James. Here's the idea. This is what we're going to try and do on my lovely CAD. What we're going to do here is we've got about a 4.5 inch circle, and we're going to make a little pocket in there that will drill out on the lathe, and we'll have a Tenon joint up here so we can turn this. And then we've got the handle here, which will be oak, and that's going to be about 1 inch in diameter. And we're going to have oak sides as the main parts of the block, and then we're going to have a walnut strip going through the middle and on the 2 ends, and then we're going to have that sandwiched in between some Iroko pieces. And so if I just pop that there, I'll show you what all the woods look like in their rough form. So this is the Iroko, which has quite a nice yellowish colour to it. And then we've got our big slabs of oak, which will make up the main parts of the hammer. And then we have some thin sheets of walnut here, which will be used, as I say, for the middle piece and the 2 end cheeks. And here we have a nice chunk of oak, which will, when chopped in half, make 2 hammer handles quite nicely. Right, so it's all glued up and cut. So we'll just turn it to the side. We've used polyurethane glue, which is the reason why it's all foamed up like this, but we're going to be cleaning this all up and turning it anyway, so it doesn't matter. So if we come in close, you should be able to see the strips here, what I was talking about with our cardboard drawing, which is we've got the walnut here, the Iroko each side, our oak here, then the Iroko again, and then the walnuts facing it. So the next job here, now this is all dry up, will be to take all the clamps off and start cutting it up and cleaning it up, ready for turning. Okay, so we've just taken this to the table saw and we've cut it up, and as you can see it's really looking quite good now with the walnut and then the other woods layering on the outside. So we'll have to see. This strip on the edge might get removed quite a bit, but we just want a streak of that, so that'll be fine. And as you can see on the ends, which is really quite pleasing, is that the grain is making a really nice chevron on each side here, and we've got the oak in the middle. So I think this is going to look absolutely fantastic. There we go, there's our 2 blocks. The wood is looking really, really good. Yes, spin. There you go, it's up in the wood lathe, and we're going to start rounding the corners. There you go, look at that. It's looking pretty cool. Time to put the little tenon on the end of the wood block so we can hold it in this lathe. So we're just using the calipers here just to measure the diameter, so that we can turn that down, and we'll use this parting tool here just to go in and make that groove. There we go, that's the tenon turned and it's looking really good up in the chuck. That's it all set up with the centre, ready for turning. So James has rough turned his head and it's looking really cool. You've got this really neat little teardrop shape coming from these side bits that we glued on. So he's going to give it a wee sand. Danish oil to finish off. Look at the grain coming up on that, it's awesome. Okay, so James has pretty much finished turned his mallet head, which is looking really cool. It's got a nice design on it. And so this is my rough blank, and now I have to try and do the same thing, because I am the apprentice. Here we go, here's my blank all set up in the lathe, so it's time to start making it round. So here's my first serious bit of wood turning. I've got this nice and round, and so the next job will be to cut a tenon on, just like we saw James do. There we go, that's rough turned, and I've gone for a slightly more kind of oval wheel of cheese shape, like I said I was going to try and do, and it's worked quite well actually. We've got these nice big medallions on each side, and then we've got our nice wee strip running through, and looking at it, it's actually pretty even, so we're doing alright, and this bit here can be used for our tenon. So we've just turned the tenon on here, so just the parting tool width, and then just come in about 2 to 3 millimeters. So it's time to put a bit of Danish oil on. And so this is how we're looking after the first coat of Danish oil, and you can see that stripe is really quite vivid now, which is awesome, and the whole grain's just showing through, and we've got this wonderful sheen on it. So So it's a new day in the workshop and we're just finishing off James's hammerhead. We've just drilled that to 26mm, and so we can then, the handle stock's over there, and we can turn the spigot on it. And James is going to be adventurous and put a bit of lead shot in his hammer to see if he can make it into a dead blow. Right, so here's my hammerhead in the new chuck, and you can see it's gripping on the wee tenon I turned. That seems nice and solid. The whole lathe rocks, so that must be good. And we've got the 26mm forcing a bit here, so just as you saw James do, I'm going to drill my hole. And it's nice and deep, it's about 2 inches deep, which will be perfect for the tenon. And you can see I've also burnished up this end face here, and it's really starting to show the wood, which is awesome. And so I just need to put another coat of Danish oil on this end just to finish that off, and then we can part down on this line a little bit more just to remove this meat, and then that's less to saw off. Okay, let's try and part this off then. I've got a wee rod in the chuck and we're going to see if we can catch this. James is quite confident, I'm not. Right, so we had a wee boo-boo, we parted this off, and as the apprentice should do, I made a wee gash on it when it fell on the floor. I didn't catch it. So we're going to fix that. We're just going to give this a light skim cut, and in order to do that, I've taken this piece of wood and turned up a wee dowel fit that will just take the hole that I've drilled conveniently. You'll see it's a really good fit, and it holds it, and so now we can take this wee live center, clamp it up, and just skim the surface, remove that, and no one will be none the wiser. And there we go, that's the boo-boo fixed, and the wee gouge is removed. Okay, so the head has had its first coat of Danish oil after we took out the wee ding. It's looking really good actually. This wood's got wonderful kind of grain lines in it, and the medallions are still quite present. So the next thing to do is to make a handle. So this is the piece of oak we've got, and I've just roughly drawn out what I'm thinking. So we'll have the wee spigot here that will fit in the head, and then I'm thinking of some wee grooves and this kind of fishtail design, which looks a lot like the wood turning tools I've been using, and I really quite like them. So we're going to try and emulate that on this piece. Right, so here we go. I've rough turned the handle and finished it now. Sanded it all up and put the first coat of Danish oil on, which it needs another coat of that, but you can see I'm really quite pleased with how this fishtail shape came out. We've got this little bit of detail up here and the wee spigot on the end, and it fits really well inside the hammer, and I think this is a really nice proportion actually. I'm really quite chuffed with that. So I will line the grain up when I glue it, but just for now that's really cool, and it feels really good in the hand. It's got a nice weight and balance to it. What kind of shape you want to go for, James?
Just trying to get something that feels right in the palm of your hand. It feels quite heavy. I'm just wondering whether I should take a little bit off the top here, round it in a bit more.
Well, you're going to add lead to it as well, are you not?
It feels very heavy.
You could definitely wallop someone with that one. Just to remember you, dear viewers, this one's mine now. This big beast as James is. What are you doing to finish it off now then?
Well, I'm just going to finish the top off here because this is quite rough. I've got to take off the holding spigot. I might try and round the top over a little bit more just to give it a bit more shape.
Nice, nice.
Good job.
He's going to use the wee jam chuck I made to fix my boo-boo earlier on when I dropped my one on the floor. So James has finished up the handle and he's also finished up the head of his. So he's got one of these wee diving bags and he's going to put some lead shot in his hammer to give it a bit of extra punch because it wasn't big enough apparently.
Well, it should give it some dead blow. So every shot counts. So someone look at this. Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah, look at that.
It's a 12 bore mallet.
It's about right for 12 bore.
How much are we going to put in?
I think as much as it takes you up to the line of where your mallet peg goes in. It's a calibrated scissors, folks, don't worry.
Alright, Mr. B. It's probably a little bit too much, I think. Just needs a tap, doesn't it?
There you go, now he's made the world's fanciest maraca.
Definitely rattles.
Folks, so that's it. After about a day and a half we're done. Me and James have both made our mallets. It's been my first turning project. I think they've come out great. We'll just get a wee close-up on these so you can have a look at them. This is James's right here. Nice big chunky handle. And he did put a bit of lead in, as you saw, so basically it has a nice little maraca dual purpose as well. So we're going to test both of these out on this little bit of wood we've got over here. And so they've not come on too bad from our original CAD drawings, very specific if you remember back. And so now we've got this, and this is my hammer with its little medallion cheeks, and I decided to go with the more fishtail style handle. So let's test these out and see which one's better. First impressions, yeah, James's one's a beast, isn't it? I think it's awesome. It's just giant, absolutely humongous. But the thing I really like about his is he managed to keep his little walnut patches, so that's already 20 points to him just for keeping them. I was a bit exuberant with mine. Did mine, I tried to make this like a mortar and pestle handle, and so you've got kind of a nice balance up here, and then you can also swing it a lot easier down at the bottom. And I think the symmetrical shape is interesting, but I've got to give it to James on the actual design of the head shape. I really like this shape, and I think that hammer head with this handle could be a winning combination, so maybe that's something we'll have to try at some point. So let's take a few cuts. So I'll come in here with my one. It feels good. It feels like you could do this for a while. It's quite light. Probably doesn't give you as much of the force as you might need, but it definitely doesn't feel like it would tire you out. And then let's try James's one, and we'll hold it up here. And so immediately I don't have to tap anywhere near as hard to get the same kind of cut, which means that although I'd want to use this one for longer, this one actually probably, because of the weight, can take just as much material off in less time. So they probably balance each other out. But this has been a really fun project, and so we've got a JVK, and let us know in the comments which one you think won. Click here to subscribe, click here to see other videos. This is our first one, but there'll be more on the way, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and see you later.